Donald Trump, President of the United States, has threatened Americans in order to defend a foreign dignitary who has been accused of murder. He now wants Jimmy Kimmel fired, ABC shut down. Here it is.
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. You're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. As far as the Epstein files is, I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. And I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend. They lived together. They went to his island many times. I never did.
Ladies and gentlemen, a question cannot be insubordinate. Just want to make sure we say that for the kids. Okay. So Donald Trump said he doesn't mind the question. He doesn't like how nasty she is. I mean, she's just rude. You need to package those questions with the sensitivity required to be a White House reporter or correspondent. I want you to keep in mind, during this same, presser in front of the Saudi crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, he defended the man, defended him, even though the question was relevant about the intelligence that they gathered under Trump 1 that said he ordered the assassination of a journalist. Why would a journalist not pose that question when given the opportunity? It doesn't end there. Now he wants the license of ABC to be taken away. Here it is.
And I'll tell you something.
So why not just sign it now?
I think the license should be taken away from ABC because your news is so fake and it's so wrong. And we have a great commissioner, the chairman, who should look at that, because I think when you come in and when you're 97% negative to Trump and then Trump wins the election in a landslide, that means obviously your news is not credible and you're not credible as a reporter. So
he's talking about the FCC license, the license to broadcast, because technically when you are on air and you broadcast through a wave medium, you do not own the wave medium. The federal government does. AM, FM, television. So he's threatening to snatch it away for political reasons, which would actually make it null and void if it ever got to court, because he has now tainted the argument that it's for non-political reasons. So he wants to do all of this in front of who? In front of a foreign head of state who was accused of killing or assassinating a reporter under Trump 1. Let's ask the question that got ABC in hot fire. Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now? She asked, pushing directly on the pressure point that Trump had been dancing around all week. We've been saying it on Indisputable. All of this theater about the Epstein files. The truth is, Donald Trump never needed the United States Congress. He never needed a unanimous vote. It was never required because the Department of Justice falls under the executive branch. He likes to be in charge of branches he does not have authority over, but acts as if he cannot figure out how to direct departments that he does. Shortly after, Trump was posed a question about the killing of the journalist. Here it is.
He's done a phenomenal job. You're mentioning somebody that was extremely controversial. A lot of people didn't like that gentleman that you're talking about. Whether you like him or didn't like him, things happen. But he knew nothing about it. And we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that.
According to the intelligence report that came out under Donald Trump, President of the United States, his own intelligence agency said it was the man sitting next to him that ordered the assassination directly. Trump says he didn't have anything to do with it. America first. MAGA. Reminder, October 2nd, 2018. Jamal Khashoggi, a US-based journalist who was also a critic of Saudi Arabia's government, walked into a Saudi consulate and never walked out. According to the narrative, his body was dismembered after his assassination. Not much later in the day, Trump was calling for ABC to get Jimmy Kimmel off the air as well. Here we go again. Why does ABC, fake news, keep Jimmy Kimmel, a man with no talent, Fairport television ratings, on the air? Why do the TV syndicates put up with it? Also, totally biased coverage. Get the bum off the air. You know, you got to laugh, not to cry. This is the current president of the United States who tricked individuals into believing he has a notion in his heart of America first, but he defends individuals who really can't be defended, especially the ones that killed innocent individuals, for holding the government accountable. He tells you that he's going to make sure that you live in an America that's affordable. But then he starves millions of children during his second term. He tells you that America is the hottest country on the globe right now. Everybody knows that America is hot. But see, the citizens are cold. You know how many people had to pawn their belongings just to make ends meet? How individuals are now working multiple jobs in the gig economy just to put groceries on the table. It's because of this man. Nobody else. While he sits next to billionaires and spends hundreds of millions on taxpayer dollars on making the White House a palace for himself. All right. Jordan, thoughts here?
Yeah, there's a couple things here, right? So he's talking about Jamal Khashoggi, wrote for the Washington Post, calls him controversial. We need to talk about the reality here. He's sitting next to a barbaric dictator who represents a country without a free press. He also, in that interaction, said that he was doing amazing things for human rights. That is one of the most repressive regimes in the world. But he's willing to look past all of that because it benefits him financially. His business relationship with the Saudis goes back decades. They are talking about developing new properties in Saudi Arabia that the Trump family would personally benefit from. And I think what he also wants is that same sort of authoritarian control over our society. There are multiple stories just today, let alone this week, this month, this year, that reflects this growing desire by Trump and his administration for complete control of our country. So for him, the idea that he should feel bad sitting next to Jamal Khashoggi isn't one that resonates. He's more worried about shutting down the network that dared ask the question. It's a threat to free press. It's a violation of the First Amendment. And it jeopardizes free-flowing information and truth in this country. So it's repugnant all the way around.